Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived.
It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Today is the 15th of May. We have a whole lot of stuff going on today, as we can see. The first thing was that we went from the Scorpio moon to the next one over, which is a Sagittarius moon, which is where we're at today. A Sagittarian moon. Okay, that transition took place just after midnight. So from the Sagittarian moon, we're going to then look at the other aspects around us. We have a square right here at 1:22 p.m. This is Pacific time. And a square, remember, is a lesson. A lesson that needs to be learned. It's a block, and once we can learn the lesson. So the lesson is between Sagittarius, the moon sign, and Neptune, which is a water sign, about emotions, feelings. So those two things are going to come to bump it into each other. Okay, the truthfulness of what's going on and the illusionary nature of the things that we're seeing. Neptune has to do with illusions as well. So when those things bump heads, well, truth comes out eventually, but sometimes there's some uncomfortableness as the truth is being uncovered. Okay, those are the main things we want to look at for today. Maybe at some point we'll get into some of these other little symbols here, but for right now, squares, triangles, and then conjunctions, which is directly across from each other. Alright, the numerology for today is number 9. Here's how we arrived at the number 9. 5 plus 6, 15 plus 2014 becomes 5 plus 6 plus 7, which equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Number 9. This is the Hermit. It's the last of the single numbers. So it means that there is something being done as you're getting ready to go to the next step. Hermit holds the lantern high for others to see, shining the light bright, because the hermit went into solitude to gain some wisdom. Came out with the answer. Color is gray because it's not black or white, it's neutral. So the hermit's a teacher, a helper. So that's what today is. The 9, whenever the 9 comes up, it's all about that energy, that helping, teaching, healing energy. It's also aristocratic, sophisticated, but the other side can be egocentric, self-centered, not wanting to help, not wanting to teach, maybe do the opposite. Okay, so these are some of the qualities associated with that. Let's jump over to our tree of life. We have our symbol here. This was Sagittarius. See that? The angel. So that resides right here. Right down the middle here. And the angel is Sagittarius. Goes from beauty to foundation. And, you know, like a tightrope walker when they hold the pole. Well, this one is kind of the pole here. You got two ends of it, victory and splendor. And here's the tower, which is false truth. So when our emotions and our intellect get out of balance, we get a lot of false truth. So the angel, truthfulness, Sagittarius, is holding that to keep it in balance. Okay, the foot on the foundation and the head and the heart, keeping things in balance there. And our hermit is right over here, again coming in from mercy into beauty. Alright, our current moon phase, we're just a sliver past the full moon, 98% of the way there. The sky tonight. Right here. It says Jupiter's moon to cross the face of the planet from 9:41 to 9:50 to 11:57 p.m. Eastern Daylight. Io's tiny but more visible shadow follows it across. Okay, so if we look, we might be able to see that today, perhaps with telescopes or something of that nature. But so we're looking at the moon. See Scorpio right down here, and Taurus to the left of the moon, lower left. If you have one of those apps on your phone, those are pretty cool. You can find different sky maps. They have them for the Androids and for the iPhones. Okay. And then we go over to our Mayan Oracle. We're at the second day, second tone of this wave spell, this theme of the warrior. Today's about synchronicity, navigation, like-minded energies, inspiration. The wind challenge for today is the hand, accomplishment, and the seed. The occult kin are underlying power. Ability to grow, plant a seed, let it grow. And purification is the challenge for today, or our guide for today. The phrase is, I polarize in order to evolve, stabilizing synchronicity. I seal the matrix of navigation with the lunar tone of challenge. I am guided by the power of universal water. Today, we are the fourth column over, fourth row up. Therefore, we have a point of synchronicity right here. Galactic activation portal day is what they're called, where the energy is just intensified because it's crisscrossed and connected with each other from both directions. Solar wind over at space weather is 347.5. Planetary K index is quiet. Our coronal holes are still smoothed over. M-class flare possibilities at 30. X-class is 5. Geomagnetic storm activity looks relatively low today. 30 in the mid-latitudes, 35 is severe in the high latitudes, but it's dropping in both cases. And on the Jewish calendar, today is 15 Lyre, Omer count day 30. Alright, and there you have it. That gets us started. UFO news is up next. Stay tuned.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Alright, Dirk. Thank you very much. First story. We're going to go back up to the ISS. Here's another one that was captured on the 12th. Pretty good sized ship. Whatever that might be, and there it is up by the ISS. This large mothership was recorded near the space station this week by StreetCap 1 of YouTube. The new HD cams are in place, and this may or may not be one of those cams. They use both the two HD cams and the regular cams. So why are the UFOs seen so often at the space station? Well, this week, aliens interested in how Russians are trying to dominate over the ISS due to the sanctions put on Russia by the United Nations. You see, alien tech can record anything in a scan. Person's emotions, mood, stress, interest, memories, all just plain advancements in tech that one day humanity will also have. They record it to study us because humanity might cause its own destruction and they want to learn while we are still here. Okay, so something more than what we're being told. Wonder how people would react on a regular basis if every time there was a big sighting like this, they would report it on the news. Be interesting, huh? Alright, here's a video for you to check out. It says Frank Redelmeyer is one of the most prominent ufologists in Germany. He began a legal battle in 2001 for the declassification of UFO related files. All you got here is a 3-minute video about his. This is a little report about what he's been doing. I'm going to leave the video for you. It's 3 minutes in length. But this is a pretty interesting story about UFO declassification. Alright? All countries are trying to bring it forward. And there's great ufologists in each country which are doing so. And this is one of these examples. Alright, now we're going to go over to the study here. Ibiza UFO video, Bedazzled Astronomer. People of science were perplexed when they saw a video of a seemingly huge and bright object falling from the sky. Other people were claiming it was just a UFO that they are seeing. It got them thinking. Is it self-propelled, or is it just one of those junks that space through about anywhere? It was April 13th, 2014 at the Spanish islands of Ibiza when Eduardo de Miguel saw this strange light that seemed to be falling from the sky. With his instinct pushing him, he ran towards his camera and quickly grabbing it, he pushed the record button, got a 3-minute video before it disappeared in the mist. Right after watching the video, he then thought about having recorded a UFO falling towards Earth. Being doubtful, he then reported it to authorities and was verified by the Astronomical Association of Ibiza. They right away confirmed it was not a meteorite and suspected that the object in the said video was made by humans. And with further investigation at the Department of Defense, they also ruled out that the possibility of it being a military. The department also said that the object was captured in the video on that day. Could it just be space junk? Well, the statement is coinciding with the first theory of the Astronomical Association of Ibiza. Came up with a lot of investigations having been made in regards to the sighting, one of which even stated that the UFO changed its direction mid-shift, but regard to the question that was raised, we still do not know the answer. Alright? And here we go. John Mack, researcher, says educating humanity, is a huge fan of Dr. John Mack, and we are happy that a major motion picture is being made about this man and his life. You can read a detailed account. Here we go. Dr. John Mack, a true story. Aliens are real. Video here, 5 minutes, 24 seconds. It says, when Harvard psychiatry professor, Pulitzer-winning prize author Dr. John Mack was asked to study people who claimed to be abducted by aliens, he was reluctant. He was a doctor, a man of science. But these people were desperate for help and became curious what the underlying psychiatric symptom might be. Using everything in his psychiatric arsenal, Dr. Mack studied over 200 abductees. He found that people all over the world who had never met each other were telling exactly the same abduction stories. John Mack's findings were shocking to him and forced him to question his most deeply rooted beliefs. These people are not lying and are not crazy. I know mental illness, and this is not mental illness, he said. He compiled his findings in his best-selling book, Abduction. When Harvard Medical School got wind of it, they were mortified that their head of psychiatry was on national television saying that aliens were real. Headlines around the world mocked him. His friends and colleagues, even his wife, thought he has lost his mind. Harvard formed a secret committee to discredit Dr. Mack, to ruin his reputation and take away his tenure, the first in the university's history. For over 14 months, John Mack endured what amounted to a witch hunt against him. But in spite of all this time, Dr. Mack courageously stayed true to his newfound beliefs and stood by the abductees. By the end of his life, John Mack was regarded by some as a visionary and a modern-day Galileo, by others as a fool who made an error of historic proportions. 10 days before John Mack died, he told a friend, "If anyone asks, tell them I'm not crazy." We at Make Magic Productions are truly honored that Mack family was granted us the rights to bring John Mack's incredible true story to the big screen. We are passionate believers that John Mack's story is special and will make a powerful film with universal appeal. You may have read in Vanity Fair last year that the discussion with the studios have already occurred. This is true. There is keen interest in Hollywood to make a major motion picture of John Mack's life. So why are we here asking for your help? Because we have chosen to work outside of the studio system during this phase of the film. We feel a responsibility Dr. Mack and his family and the abductees themselves to ensure that the story of Mack's life is handled with care and integrity. We are raising $1 million to develop this. So here's an opportunity to be involved and help out. There's a link here so you can go to it. So check that out. You know, the filmmaking process is an interesting process, and filmmakers are looking for ways to step outside of the studio system, and the way that they do it is to reach out. That's why we have these places like Kickstarter and a number of other places that are often used by filmmakers. It's a great way to create a project without having to deal with the studio oversight that goes on, because you've heard the expression, too many cooks spoil the soup. Well, that's kind of what happens when you get too many people going on, too many working in something. So it's important with the project to keep it tight-knit. So if you can contribute to that and help them out, you're also helping out and being part of that film. So check it out, read the details, and see how that might interest you further. Here's a story of a military jet chases triangular UFO over Tennessee. 3 large lights formed a triangle, a small dim light on top, all non-flashing, fast, silent flight military jet in pursuit. I was outside walking when I noticed a large, solid ball of yellowish white glowing light. I thought I was seeing a planet at first, but it was way too large. It appeared to not be moving, so I called for my father and grandmother to look. We watched as it began to move closer until it flew over us at a much lower altitude than any commercial jet would fly by, and was moving to other horizon. By the time I got to the backyard to finish watching, it had vanished. When I was in the backyard to try to find it again, a military jet appeared in the same flight path about 2 miles later. My father and I confirmed that it was a military jet from our military experience. We knew it was a jet from the obvious sound we heard once it had moved on as well. The UFO had a very fast, smooth flight, no noise, and I couldn't make out the individual lights until it was overhead. At a distance, it was so huge. We are in shock. I'm a 30-year-old Navy brat. My father is 62 and a 20-year-old Navy veteran. My grandmother is age 86. Alright, this is not the real image. This is just a rendering of what they saw. And one last piece here. Strange circles in the sea in front of Croatian islands. Strange reports. Fix this here. Strange reports are coming in from Croatia about an unusual phenomena. They found circles on the seabed of several islands. Right here, little circles. Several islands. They all have a diameter of 50 meters, are equally distant from the coast between themselves. They were found by researchers of a split ecological association called SUN while checking out the marine flora and fauna. Residents of Pleiadian, though, are wondering whether the islands are visited by the newcomers from space. Aerial photographs of the sea taken recently are showing this interesting phenomena. Circles were also found in the coast islands of Bermuda and Malta. Most of the circles, 28 or maybe even more, were found on the west coast of the island of Digi Otak, all the same sizes. Circles at the same distance are at the same distance from the coast and from one another. At the depth of 20 meters or more and have a diameter of 50 meters. It's pretty interesting, huh? So here they are right here. Here's the report. And they're, I believe this is Croatian. That's talking, so alright. It's very interesting. So check it out. See what you think about that. Very interesting. All those little circles out there. Alright, that's our UFO news. I'm going to jump away. I'm going to play a song for you here. Today's song is Observation. And I'll get back and we'll continue on. Enjoy.
Had in fact influenced the course of human history in some rather critical and startling ways.
yourself and I am someone else. Do you know what I mean? Wouldn't sound so crazy to you if you've seen what I've seen. Corridors of time, dimensions of space, traveling through the universe, from place to place. Don't arouse suspicion of a membrane gone insane. Everything is possible, just gotta see with an open mind. Winds of change are blowing through. Sounds are in the air. A distant voice calls to me. I hear it everywhere. Communication from beyond. A message for this world. Cosmic signals sent to Earth. Beep, 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 beep. Don't arouse suspicion of a membrane gone insane. Everything is possible, just gotta see with an open mind. Is anybody listening to what is being said? Perhaps it's quite important, this message in my head. Heed the call and stand your ground. Trust yourself. My observation, that's my report. Don't arouse suspicion of a membrane gone insane. Everything is possible, just gotta see with an open mind.
Another alien.
All right. So today, I thought I'd keep following the trail. And by the trail, I mean yesterday we had the full moon, and it was the Wesak moon, Wesak full moon, which was a moon that was celebrating and remembering the time of Buddha's enlightenment when he sat under the Bodhi tree. So I thought, you know what? Maybe that's a good time to embark upon a study of Buddhism, discuss that for a while. So that is exactly what we're going to do starting today. So I think I'm going to make Thursdays now. We're going to look at Buddhism on Thursdays. So to start things off, I pulled up this site here called the BuddhaNet.net. It says everything we need to know about Buddhism. A lot of great information here. This is the home page. Got a library section here where you can go in. You got multiple languages, English, Chinese, Thai. You can go in and all kind of information here from their basic teachings, studies, meditations. Okay, so a lot of great stuff here. That's at the library. And then they have these daily readings, which are pretty cool. So here's today's daily reading. What you do is just pick your date, May 15. It says, I do not praise wrong behavior in either the householder or home leaver. If either a householder or a home leaver fares along wrongly, he is not accomplishing the perfect way, the Dhamma, the skilled as a result of this wrong behavior. Rather, I do praise good behavior in both householder and house leaver. If either a householder or a house leaver fares along rightly, then he is accomplishing the perfect way, the Dhamma, the skilled as a result of this right behavior. It's a cool little wisdom from Buddha every day. And then where we're going to start today is we're going to go over here to these Buddhist studies. Alright, and we're going to start at the beginning, because the beginning is a good place to start. So we're going to look at Basic Buddhism Guide. Let's see what we have here. A little introduction. What is Buddhism? A 5-minute intro. It says, okay, what is Buddhism? Buddhism is a religion to about 300 million people around the world. The word comes from Buddhi, to awaken. It has its origin about 2,500 years ago, when Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, was himself awakened, enlightened at the age of 35. Is Buddhism a religion? To many, Buddhism goes beyond religion and is more of a philosophy or a way of life. It is a philosophy because philosophy means love of wisdom, and Buddhist path can be summed up as 1. To lead a moral life, 2. To be mindful and aware of thoughts and actions, and 3. To develop wisdom and understanding. How can Buddhism help me? Good question. Buddhism explains a purpose to life. It explains apparent injustice and inequality around the world, and it provides a code of practice or way of life that leads to true happiness. Why is Buddhism becoming popular? Buddhism is becoming popular in Western countries for a number of reasons. The first good reason is Buddhism has answers to many of the problems in modern materialistic societies. It also includes, for those who are interested, a deep understanding of the human mind and the natural therapies which promote psychologists around the world who are now discovering to be both very advanced and effective. Siddhartha Gautama was born into a royal family in Lumbini, now located in Nepal, in 563 BC. At 29, he realized that wealth and luxury did not guarantee happiness, so he explored the different teachings, religions, and philosophies of the day to find the key to human happiness. After 6 years of study and meditation, he finally found the middle path and was enlightened. After enlightenment, the Buddha spent the rest of his life teaching the principles of Buddhism, called Dhamma, or truth, until his death at the age of 80. Was Buddha God? No, he was not, nor did he claim to be. He was a man who taught a path to enlightenment from his own experience. Do Buddhists worship idols? Buddhists sometimes pay respect to images of the Buddha, but not in worship, nor to ask favors. A statue of the Buddha with hands rested gently in its lap and a compassionate smile reminds us to strive to develop peace and love within ourselves. Bowing to the statue is an expression of gratitude for the teaching. Why are so many Buddhist countries poor? One of the Buddhist teachings is that wealth does not guarantee happiness, and also wealth is impermanent. The people of every country suffer, whether rich or poor, but those who understand Buddhist teachings can find true happiness. Are there different types of Buddhism? There are many different types of Buddhism, because the emphasis changes from country to country due to customs and culture. What does not vary is the essence of the teaching, the Dhamma, or the truth. Are other religions wrong? Buddhism is also a belief system which is tolerant of all other beliefs or religions. Buddhism agrees with the moral teachings of other religions, but Buddhism goes further by providing a long-term purpose within our existence, through wisdom and true understanding. Real Buddhism is very tolerant and not concerned with labels like Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or Buddhist. That is why there have never been any wars fought in the name of Buddhism. That is why Buddhists do not preach and try not to convert, only to explain if an explanation is sought. Is Buddhism scientific? Science knowledge, which can be made into a system, which depends upon seeing and testing facts and stating general natural laws. The core of Buddhism fits into this definition because the Four Noble Truths can be tested and proven by anyone. In fact, the Buddha himself asked his followers to test the teaching rather than to accept his word as true. Buddhism depends more on an understanding than faith. What did the Buddha teach? The Buddha taught many things, but the basic concepts in Buddhism can be summed up by the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. What is the first noble truth? The first truth is that life is suffering. For example, life includes pain, getting old, disease, and ultimately death. We endure psychological suffering like loneliness, frustration, fear, embarrassment, disappointment, and anger. This is an irrefutable fact that cannot be denied. It is realistic rather than pessimistic because pessimism is expecting things to be bad. Instead, Buddhism explains how suffering can be avoided and how we can truly be happy. The second noble truth is that suffering is caused by craving and aversion. We will suffer if we expect other people to conform to our expectations, if we want others to like us, if we do not get somewhere we want, etc. In other words, getting what we want does not guarantee happiness. Rather than constantly struggling to get what you want, try to modify your wanting. Wanting deprives us of contentment and happiness. A lifetime of wanting and craving, and especially the craving to continue to exist, creates a powerful energy which causes the individual to be born. So craving leads to physical suffering because it causes us to be reborn. The third truth is that suffering can be overcome and happiness can be attained. The true happiness and contentment are possible. If we give up useless craving and learn to live each day at a time, not dwelling in the past or the imagined future, then we can become happy and free. We have more time and energy to help others. This is nirvana. The fourth truth is that the Noble Eightfold Path is the path which leads to the end of suffering. So what is the Noble Eightfold Path? Well, in summary, the Noble Eightfold Path is being moral. But what we have to say, do, and our livelihood. Focusing the mind on being fully aware of our thoughts and actions, and developing wisdom by understanding the Four Noble Truths, and developing compassion for others. The moral code within Buddhism is the precepts, of which the main 5 are not to take the life of anything living, not to take anything not freely given, to abstain from sexual misconduct and sexual overindulgence, to refrain from untrue speech, and to avoid intoxication, that is, losing mindfulness. What is karma? Karma is the law that every cause has an effect. Our actions have results. The simple law explains a number of things: inequality in the world, why some are born handicapped and some gifted, why some can live only a short life. Karma underlies the importance of all individuals being responsible for their past and present actions. How can we test the karmic effect of our actions? The answer is summed up by looking at 1. The intention behind the action, 2. The effects of the action on oneself, and 3. The effects on others. What is wisdom? Buddhism teaches that wisdom should be developed with compassion. At one extreme, you could be a good-hearted fool, and at the other extreme, you could attain knowledge without any emotion. Buddhism uses the middle path to develop both. The highest wisdom is seeing in reality all phenomena are incomplete, impermanent, and do not constitute a fixed entity. True wisdom is not simply believing that we are told, but instead experiencing and understanding truth and reality. Wisdom requires an open, objective, unbigoted mind. The Buddhist path requires courage, patience, flexibility, and intelligence. What is compassion? Compassion includes qualities of sharing, readiness to give comfort, sympathy, concern, caring. In Buddhism, we can really understand others when we can really understand ourselves through wisdom. And how do I become a Buddhist? Buddhist teachings can be understood and tested by anyone. Buddhism teaches that the solutions to our problems are within ourselves, not outside. The Buddha asked all of his followers not to take his word as true, but rather to test the teachings for themselves. In this way, each person decides for themselves and takes responsibility for their own actions and understandings. This makes Buddhism less of a fixed package of beliefs, which is to be accepted in its entirety, and more of a teaching for which each person learns and uses in their own way. That's a good basic understanding of what Buddhism is, a nice little introduction. Just a little bit more, let's see here. So this short essay is intended to give a brief introduction to Buddhism. It will discuss the way Buddhists perceive the world, the four main teachings of the Buddha, the Buddhist view of the self, the relationship between the self and the various ways in which it responds to the world, the Buddhist path, and the final goal. It's from Mike Butler. All right. Buddhism, this is the three marks of existence. Buddhism has been described as a very pragmatic religion. It does not indulge in the metaphysical speculation about first causes. There is no theology, no worship of a deity or deification of the Buddha. Buddhism takes a very straightforward look at our human condition. Nothing is based on wishful thinking at all. Everything that the Buddha taught was based on his own observation of the way things are. Everything that he taught can be verified by our own observation of the way things are. If we look at life very simply in a straightforward way, we see that it is marked with frustration and pain. This is because we attempt to secure our relationship with the world out there by solidifying our experiences in some concrete way. For example, we might have dinner with someone we admire very much. Everything goes just right, and when we get home later, we begin to fantasize about all the things we can do with our newfound friend, places we can go, etc. We are going through the process of trying to cement a relationship. Perhaps the next time we see our friend, he or she has a headache and is curt with us. We feel snubbed, hurt. All our plans go out the window. The problem is that the world out there is constantly changing. Everything is impermanent and impossible to make a permanent relationship with anything at all. If we examine the notion of impermanence closely and honestly, we see that it is all-pervading. Everything is marked by impermanence. We might posit an internal conscious principle or higher self, but if we examine our consciousness closely, we see that it is made up of temporarily mental processes and events. We see that our higher self is a speculative at best and imaginary to begin with. We have invented the idea to secure ourselves, to cement our relationship once again. Because of this, we feel uneasy and anxious, even at the best of times. It is only when we completely abandon clinging that we feel any relief from our queasiness. These three things, pain, impermanence, and egolessness, are known as the three marks of existence. Okay, Four Noble Truths. The first sermon that the Buddha preached after his enlightenment was about the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is that life is frustrating and painful. In fact, if we are honest with ourselves, there are times when it is downright miserable. Things may be fine with us at the moment, but if we look around and we see other people in the most appalling conditions, children starving, terrorism, hatred, wars, intolerance, people being tortured, and we get sort of queasy feeling whenever we think about the world situation, even in the most casual way. We ourselves will someday grow old, get sick, and eventually die. No matter how we try to avoid it, someday we are all going to die. Even though we try to avoid thinking about it, there are constant reminders that it is true. The second noble truth is that suffering has a cause. We suffer because we are constantly struggling to survive. We are constantly trying to prove our existence. We may be extremely humble and self-deprecating, but even if that is our attempt to define ourselves, we are defined by our humility. The harder we struggle to establish ourselves in our relationships, the more painful our experiences become. The third noble truth is that the cause of suffering can be ended. Our struggle to survive, our effort to prove ourselves and solidify our relationships is unnecessary. We in the world can go along quite comfortably without our unnecessary posturing. We could just be a simple, direct, and straightforward person. We could form a simple relationship with our world, our coffee, spouse, and friend. We do this by abandoning our expectations about how we think things should be. And this is the fourth noble truth, that the way, the path to the end of suffering. The central theme of this way is meditation. Meditation here means the practice of mindfulness or awareness. Shamatha, vipshana in Sanskrit. We practice being mindful of all things that we use to torture ourselves with. We become mindful by abandoning our expectations about the way we think things should be. And out of our mindfulness, we begin to develop awareness about the way things really are. We begin to develop the insight that things are really quite simple, that we can handle ourselves and our relationships very well as soon as we stop being so manipulative and complex. Okay. I think we'll just stop right there with this. As you notice, though, as going through this, there is a similarity to some degree to some of the other teachings and things we've looked at. For example, in Buddhism so far, it's talked about the middle path. In the teachings and the symbol of the tree of life, you have the three paths, and the objective is always to find your way to the middle path. There's a lot of similarity in the Kybalion that we've learned about over these last 7 weeks, in the fact that it's teachings about the mind. It involves and includes teachings about cause and effect and about how the energies around us operate. And it really is getting into the point of just kind of being, observing the world around you to see what's going on. Because we get so preoccupied sometimes on a daily basis trying to figure out everything that's going on, because our view of the world is based on so many things that are outside of us. What television shows us what's going on, what people are saying what's going on, what the state of affairs of politics or our personal affairs are. Everything outside affects what's going on. But as you know, when we stop, when we close our eyes, when we meditate, we find that peaceful place inside, and all of those other things drift away. And when they drift away, we realize that they're not really that important to begin with. And so when we start to find that balance between what's important and what isn't, we start to realize that the things that we've made a bit more complex in our life really could be much more simply accomplished if we just let go of all the attachments we have to them. And that's the interesting thing about life, that it's a continual process. We're all learning this every single day. I don't think anybody, no matter how far advanced along the path they think they are, gets to a point where they aren't learning something new, because life's full of surprises, and that's the beauty of it. So I think for the next several Thursdays, I'm not going to put any time on this, but we're going to make Thursdays the day now, since we finished the Kybalion, where we'll get into the Buddhism, and we'll deal with this on Thursdays. All right? All right. So let me move on from here. Here's an article from In5D. It says Orbing into the fifth dimension, the Mothership. This is an article from Crystalli. It says we are going through the process of harmonic conversion. We are shifting from harmonic universe 1 to harmonic universe 2. We are already in harmonic universe 2. We are already in the fifth dimension. We will continue going through a transformation until the end of 2015 and into 2017 for others. After we reach the first stage of transformation, we can prepare for the ability or orb or ride to spaceships by 2022. The grand event that we are preparing for are mass landings beginning in 2024 for those who have prepared their bodies to orb. Those who have prepared their bodies will have the option of moving into the inner domains or inner Earth at that time. The masses will be prepared for mass landings by 2047. The Earth will become a star as she once was long ago, and she will become the hub of the galaxy for races and other planets in the Milky Way galaxy. She will be a hub that allows the stargates to open into and beyond millions of galaxies and omni-universes. A harmonic conversion is just basically a loss of electrons. A loss of electrons in the atoms are changing into positively charged ion. This is a conversion, a harmonic conversion. The outer band or sphere is the secret. It is flowing into our body through all of the bands or spheres, into the cosmic, the universal, the galactic, solar, and planetary. These spheres have many spheres within them. There are dimensions. There are 3 dimensions in each of these spheres and millions of dimensions in between them. These levels of light bands can also be looked at as frequencies. The Hertzian frequency is the lowest frequency in the planetary sphere, and then the infrared and visible light. When we raise to see the higher octave of the harmonic universe, too, we move to different spectrums of light and sound. We move from visible light to invisible light. We move into the X-ray vision that allows us to see what is on the other side. We move into harmonic universe 3 and 4 to attune to the higher light and sound of plasma and gamma, and then into the stellar waves and the stardust of crystal liquid light, crystal gel and crystal dust. These cosmic waves exist within the 5th harmonic universe, along with the 14th dimensional heliotelic silver pastel frequency of transformation. When their consciousness rises into the full spectrum of light and sound, they have lifted their consciousness as far beyond the Hertzian frequency as can be imagined. There is no audible sound in the way we have been tuned into the 3rd dimensional hearing. There is the invisible sound as there is the invisible light. It is not that there isn't, it's just that we need to tune in differently. We need to start using the 7 senses beyond the 5 senses. We need to tune in to the most outer band or sphere of pre-light and pre-sound in order to begin creating a brand new reality. It is not until we merge our consciousness virtually into the candle or the sun, until we feel as if we walked into the sphere of light, that we are in the full spectrum of light. The light of the sun places the thinking brain in a trance and allows the frequency-specific midbrain to take over. The midbrain allows consciousness to move into antimatter, or the negative of the mind of God. When we move into antimatter, we develop a kind of X-ray vision that causes the back of a car to rise and turn around and become visible. This is the exact process of polysynthesis and takes place when the sun sends energy into the flower stems. The flowers first rise as the negative created in the mind of God, and then it rises to become developed as a flower. This is the exact process of manifestation that we will all become capable of doing when we learn to move into the frequency of specific midbrain. The full spectrum of light and sound frequency, or the pink-white light. When we hit the wall of light, we walk through, turn around, and see ourselves as the blue sphere. The blue sphere is our 5th dimensional self. It is our multidimensional self. It is the self who has merged with or tuned with all the other 5 spheres of the light spectrum of all the sound spectrums. This is the activity we have been going through since 2010. We are merging with one or more layer of light and sound at this time. According to some, the date March 15, 2014 was one of those shifting dates. During each shift, there is a stellar wave activation associated with. The Guardian Alliance cosmic councils are working with universal life force currents to stream the stellar waves or the stardust from the universal sphere, called the Christic sphere in some cultures. The Mothership was recorded on March 15, 2014. We can look at the 7-year transformation period from 2010 through 2017 in various ways. My mission has been to record the levels of sound and light activity. The frequencies of our harmonic universe have been shifting drastically over the past 14 years. I work with the Crystalline Cosmic Council to bring the highest frequencies to Earth through music. The frequencies recorded are not solfege or Hertzian in any way, as many of the other sound healing technologies claim. The frequencies that are recorded on these sound wave albums are actually transmissions of consciousness that record the frequency signatures of thousands of beings who are involved in the omniversal consciousness shifting, as well as the waves of stardust, solar winds, singing of the music of the spheres, and the consciousness waves of the Christic races as they align into the heart of Mother Earth. As you go through the process of aligning your consciousness and body with these waves of light energy, your body becomes able to turn into a golden egg or crystal Merkaba form. You get the light glowing through a crystal, and you get beautiful shades of color. Okay, we've got a lot to the article here about the whole process. I'm going to come to the ending part of it here. It says, personality, see, now the body can levitate or disappear into a rainbow prism. Where is the rainbow prism coming from? It's coming from the intense electrical field that is ionizing to some effect like a magnetic mirror, which is a device used in thermonuclear process. This is the same mirror is contained an intense working field in the vacuum. The ions are just injected inside this intense electrical field of the vacuum, then immediately the electrons of those ions return to the plasmic state. So now the wave is no longer a standing wave in the quantum field, but has actually been neutralized and goes back to the plasma of the omni-field state positive that is called the magnetic mirror. Ionization is a loss of electrons, atoms into positively charged ions. This is a conversion, harmonic conversion into a new reality, a new frequency, a new dimension. So there's a lot to this article, a lot of information here. And it's just one of many articles which, again, is speaking to the same theme that we are going through, a transformation here. So for many on the planet, as we know, 2012 meant absolutely nothing. The Hollywood version didn't happen, and so they just discounted it, that anything went on. But for those who have been paying attention and have noticed the subtle energies, there have been shifts. There's been shifts, one in that we crossed the ecliptic on December 21st. There's been shifts energetically. There's more things that we're experiencing in the cosmos that are different, as if we've gone full circle and we've come to a point in time where we're experiencing something that is so far back in the past that it's actually our future place that we've come back around to. And so as we do, we're starting to remember more about our abilities. And as we go inside and as we open to understand all of these various teachings, they're all teaching us the same things, right? To go inside, look inside there, because that's where the answers are. Because the moment we get caught up in the outside world, we have an opportunity to get sucked in and really pulled into that reality, which isn't reality, it's just an illusion. And the more that I think we learn, at least for myself, I find the more I learn and understand, the more it's kind of like walking through life and looking at different realities, or with all the different timings, having different watches and being able to see its time on this 3D here and on this dimension here, and here we're doing this. And it's just looking at reality in different ways and perspectives. And I think that's kind of cool, because we're all going through life and seeing life evolve. And when we look inside, it's a pretty amazing journey. And I know that you're finding out as well, and we're all in this together. All right, so I'm going to go to this message here today. It's from Mira, from the Pleiadian High Council.
When people see farmers, they think
GMOs.
Genetically modified.
Valerie Donner, a message from Mira from the Pleiadian High Council.
May 11th, 2014.
I am still fully dedicated to working with the Earth Council and the Earth's ascension process. We give you a big hug from our council and from the light realms. You have little idea about how much you are working with us in the light realms, and on our ships at night in your dreams. We counsel you and you work with us together as a team. You come and go and we enjoy our times with you. This coming and going is a part of getting to know each other and understanding what is needed for your ascension. These vast changes can create troubling times for many. We understand that some are challenged greatly, not knowing where to place their next step. The uncertainties are part of the learning process of living and trusting in the now moment. This requires faith and skill and the deep inner knowingness that all will work out according to the divine plan. The integration of these new energies requires quietness and rest. Looking outside for the answers can help, but for the most part you will have to learn from within. There is a unification process that is going on, where you will begin to understand that every living being on the planet is releasing that which is illusory, to find a harmonious way of life on the new earth. Most people know that things are changing but are not as aware as our ground crew. You are the frontrunners of change. Often you get to face the issues before the rest of the populace. You stand out and agreed to be the way showers. Please recall that you signed up for this mission. You have been through other ascensions. This particular ascension of the earth is the most complicated, and yet it has the greatest amount of help from all of creation. We look up to you. You are doing the work. Many of us come and go from the earth. Many of us are present with you. We have had to learn to fit in to do our jobs, just like you have had to learn to fit in your entire lifetime. We understand it has taken a lot, but think about how much you have learned. As the truth continues to be revealed, the illusion will be stripped away. This will bring a new reality. It will generate peace, love, harmony, unity, heart, abundance, and joy. You have a few more years of this chaos, and then these higher frequencies will be anchored in. The template is already on the planet, and we are working together to clear the old energies that no longer fit in the higher consciousness. Do the best you can. Take excellent care of yourself and know that you are manifesting heaven on earth. I am Mira from the Pleiadian High Council, sending you love and gratitude.
Alright, nice message from Mira. And that brings us to our meditation for today. So go ahead, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale. Now, imagine yourself walking along a path. And as you walk along this path, imagine yourself walking past a storefront. And in the storefront, there's all of these television screens. And each screen, you see something else. Each screen shows you something going on in the world. Something political, something non-political. And as you see the screens, you see all these images and things happening outside of yourself. And it doesn't matter what you watch or see, it just doesn't provide that satisfaction. So you imagine closing your eyes and looking inside of you. And when you do, you begin to see an image of yourself. Feel who you are and understand something deeper that provides a satisfaction. And you open your eyes again and you look around at the world. And you see the same as you saw before, and still no satisfaction. So you close your eyes and go back inside, and there you find that peacefulness and the satisfaction. Because you find that looking in helps you to evolve who you are. And eventually, as you keep opening your eyes and going back and forth between looking at the outer world and the inner, you find a way in which to bring that inner reality to your outer experience. To be able to carry that sense of inner satisfaction with you in every situation you go in. And as you do, you find that those around you respond differently. Because you are coming from a place that is not caught up in the actual physical moment, but you're entering it from a higher perspective. And as we go through life, as we remember to pull ourselves out of the situation and look at it from another perspective, we find that life becomes smoother and smoother. And the things that once challenged us are just small bumps in the road that we pass by without any problems. And so just imagine yourself today going through the world and just looking at the outside world and then looking at your inside world. And begin to understand the difference between the two. And see how you might integrate. And how you might allow yourself to move around, expressing what is inside as you move through the outside. So let your mind contemplate that. Let your subconscious mind contemplate that. And let's bring our attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. and 1 coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale, and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That is our prayer for today. Here, one final affirmation I forgot to bring up. I'm excited and passionate about life. Throw that into the mix as you're going about your journey today. And I'll be back tomorrow and figure out something to talk about then. Until, have an awesome day. Love you. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.